right into the sun. We're so sunlit.
Into the sun.
Ooh, there's a car behind us. Oh no.
Hey.
Hey.
We're in Shimokitazawa. It's the coolest suburb in the whole of Tokyo. It's where all the coolest people go. I'm saying that like I'm being sarcastic, but it actually is.
It is.
It's all vintage shops, cafes, live houses.
Live houses are places where you see
live.
bands.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm going to show you all is the vintage stores.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing.
Guys, it's amazing. Most of the thrift stores in Shimokitazawa, which are more commonly known as used or recycled stores, are located on the north and the south sides of the suburb, if you divide Shimokitazawa up by its train lines. I think that there are at least 100 thrift stores in Shimokitazawa. I spent 2.5 weeks staying in an Airbnb in this suburb, and I don't think that I even found all of the thrift stores. Luckily, I also traveled to Japan with basically an empty suitcase, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to help myself at all of the thrift stores in this glorious suburb.
So what Annika's demonstrating here is that if you get lost, you can come and find this thing, which is the Shimo-kitazawa Ichibangai Guide, which is like an interactive, completely interactive map of the town. You can turn it into English, and it has a listing for pretty much every shop, every pub, everything. Like, it lists all these categories of different things, and you press it and it goes to the map, and it gives you the opening hours and a description. It's just, this map is in a thing called the iPark, which is just like a little parking lot, which is just off Sakaidori Street, the south end of Sakaidori Street.
Good description, Luchi, thank you.
Annika was demonstrating, like the person on the game show who like demonstrates the washing machine that you can win.
Thank you, Luchi, for the description. Now, because the sheer number of thrift stores in Shimokitazawa is pretty overwhelming, I put together a little guide of all my favorite stores. If you only get a day in Shimokitazawa, these are all the places that you definitely should visit. My number one recommendation to visit is a place called The Garage, located on the north side of Shimokitazawa train station. Shimokita Garage is a collection of vintage and handmade stores run by small designers, all located in this one large warehouse space. My favorite shops in this garage are, number 1, the Marco Polo thrift shop. This shop features high quality, flattering, stylish, and timeless pieces for very reasonable prices. Another favorite is this store, where most of the items are 648 yen, and this price hasn't changed since I was last here 5 years ago either. And lastly, I know this isn't secondhand, but it's worth mentioning because it's so cool. On the right hand side, when you enter the garage, there is this whole section of handmade items, mostly jewelry by hundreds of designers. It's like wandering through Etsy in real life, and it's a great place to pick up gifts. Here's just a couple of the items that I got from there. Stickout is a store located on the south side, and inside it, every item of clothing is 700 yen. I wasn't allowed to film inside, but visit this store on a weekday. It is extremely crowded on the weekends.
What's the cafe?
This place here, okay, I need to show you guys this place. This is called Grand Bazaar Mega Store, and I know lots of you following my YouTube channel really like Lolita fashion. It has a whole floor dedicated to secondhand Lolita fashion. Brands like, where was it? Brands like Jane Marple, Milk, Emily Temple Cute, Angelic Pretty, and it's all secondhand, so it's cheaper. Yeah, and it's like the whole third floor of this place is dedicated to that.
And that secondhand thing is a big deal because Lolita fashion's very expensive if you buy it.
Let's go!
One of the trendiest thrift stores in Shimokitazawa, New York Joe Exchange, is a place where you can bring in secondhand clothing and you can get store credit for it. You can also buy pieces without bringing in your old clothes. I loved this store and I visited a couple of times. Keep an eye on their Instagram page for weekend sales where everything is 50% off. Although beware, it becomes extremely crowded when these sales are on. Fuchiko-shon, which Google Translate wants to translate to petite coconut in English, is a gorgeous vintage store stuffed into a sliver of a building on the south side of Shimokitazawa. Definitely worth a visit. Eco-wear is high on my list of recommendations because it's both very cheap and very well curated. For $5 to $15, they sell really high quality used clothing, and I even saw some pretty high-end Japanese brands being sold for about 5% of what they originally would have cost. This store is a great place to find retro toys. Inside is a mix of vintage and new toys, and being right next to the station, it's well worth a visit. Grapefruit Moon is a bit more on the expensive side, but it's still worth a visit because even if you don't buy anything, the interior decoration is just gorgeous. And it'll also give you a lot of styling inspiration as well, with styles from the 70s being very prominent when I visited this time. Undoubtedly one of my favorite stores because it exactly matches my current style. Inside is a mix of both vintage and new pieces that blend really seamlessly with each other. I also found this one really good cheap thrift store called M's Collection, but sadly it was only a temporary pop-up store. Most of the items here, apart from a couple of coats, were 400 yen each, which is $4, including this hand-painted cardigan and cute white satchel backpack that I picked up. The shop space, however, often holds pop-up stores like these, which is the reason I've still included it on my guide. A little tip for going clothes shopping in Japan: to save you some embarrassment, you'll be expected to take off your shoes before entering any change rooms. In some places, they also gave me this little baggie when entering the change room, which I couldn't for the life of me figure out what it was supposed to be used for. I mean, it's like too small to hold my clothes. So I'm coming to you, YouTube. What is this for? There's also a couple of other stores which I loved, but they are a bit more on the pricey side, so I didn't buy anything from them. However, I'm putting them on my guide because they're just so pretty inside. You have to visit them and just look around. These include the Flamingo stores, of which there are 3 in Shimokitazawa, and can be recognized by their distinctive neon signs. The iconic Height and Ashbury, which has been running in this one place for almost 25 years now. And this one smaller vintage shop called Rainbow, which is just opposite Height and Ashbury, and it had some really gorgeous vintage pieces.
Another really cool thing about Shimokitazawa is that if you like nighttime shopping, like I do, all of the vintage stores are open till 9 o'clock on a Monday night or up to midnight if it's the weekend, which is awesome. You can go out for some dinner and then a drink and then go shopping, which is really cool.
I'm going to leave you with one last really important tip for shopping vintage in Shimokitazawa. Put your explorer's cap on. Make sure you're looking in nooks and crannies, down tiny side streets, and also make sure that you look up. Many of the thrift stores are located above street level, or up teeny tiny little staircases like this one. So that's it for part 1 of my Thrifting in Tokyo series. The next videos in the series will include a lookbook and a haul of all the things that I thrifted, and a guide to thrifting in Harajuku. If you can't wait to see what I thrifted, I've posted a couple of the items styled into outfits to my Instagram page, which you can find here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! Hey Litchi. Can you move out of the way? Thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon for making these videos possible. To become my Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/Annika Victoria.